Since Africa's been coming, going, mixing, changing up. Australia, same people, nomadic, Aboriginals for 60,000. How long have we dominated? How long has Homo, the genus, been around? What point did we start that? 1776. You're probably not far off in there. So anyway, really fast, our species has gone from being being prey, being predators, not that many in number, sort of here and there, kind of adapted, but not really. Other things have been much more adapted than we are. All of a sudden, we dominate everything. It's relatively recent. And because of that, these things, it's so interesting. They say that we have anxiety and depression because this change in our society is so rapid. But you know what makes us so successful? What makes us so successful?
Is it gossiping?
They talk about gossip theory. Talk about gossip theory, adaptability, and keep going. These are great. They talk about gossip theory. They say when Sundays get together, like during a conference, guess what they talk about at dinner at night? And I think this guy's probably right. He's from Jerusalem. He's a historian from Jerusalem. Wrote this book. He's a really interesting guy. What do they talk about? He says they talk about who's the jerk down the hall in the building, not about their scientific ideas of the kind of gospel for each other. It's just kind of human nature to do this. Anything else that's made us so successful? Opposable thumbs. That's been really handy. Those come in way, way handy all the time. Is it working? Put it down so you can.
The angle won't be right.
Find some. You don't have to stare and hold it all the time. That'd be miserable. Misery. Anybody else want to throw out there a thought about why humans are so...
Domestication of animals?
We have used agriculture, domestication of agriculture, of animals, I mean, livestock industry. That has put us to a whole other level really fast. Really fast. What else? Your cognitive ability. And to put into words and communicate those words is paramount. The fact that we can have a conversation with all 20 of us in the room right now, and we're all talking about the similar kind of stuff. We understand each other. We talk about, we use our common language. We can say what's going to happen. You guys will all sort of work together on this. And because of that, we can communicate to a dozen, 2 dozen, 100, 1,000 people all at once, a whole city. And if you've got the ability to associate and communicate and organize yourselves with plans, you can do a lot of things really fast. Even if not you're the biggest thing out there, you're not the strongest or fastest. They say that what Einstein had over a parrot, he did not have in cognitive ability, he did not have in vocals. Parrots will take down Einstein any day in vocals, but not in cognition. Anyway, we are an interesting species. We're fascinating. And a lot of the stuff we talk about in this class is about science and about ecology and ecosystems. But so much is about social interactions. You know why I say that? So I just got back from this horse conference, and that's, in my opinion, our horse issues are 75% social, 25% ecological. It's a social ecological mismatch, and we are right in the middle of this. And we can talk about that later. We don't want to spend too long doing this, but you need to know each other in this class. This class is freaking awesome. There's 24 who signed up for this. That's my record. I love that. Never had 24 people in this class before. Trevor, who are you? And do you want to know where he's from? Do you care where he's from? I do. And what are you doing for a study for your research? Okay. Brief summary, like fast. A couple sentences. What am I doing? What's my project about? My stuff.
I'm Trevor Crandall. I'm from Provo, Utah. I was born and raised here, and I'm studying ecological disturbances and how wildfire affects water quality.
Perfect. You set the bar right there. Perfect. Thank you.
Shannon Nelson. I'm currently from Provo, Utah, but I was born in Kansas. And I am studying soil moisture content and increasing soil moisture content, I guess.
I'm Lisa Woolley from Sorry.
Totally, that's not what I was gonna call you.
Yeah, that's me. No, really not. But I'm from Orem, Utah, and I'm studying crop water productivity and variable irrigation in wheat and potato fields.
Did y'all hear that in the back?
Sorry.
Annie, I hate to do this to you, but.
I'll do it again.
Yeah, you can do it more till they didn't hear you.
So I'm Elisa Woolley, I'm from Orem, Utah, and I'm studying crop water productivity with variable rate irrigation in wheat and potato fields.
You got that? Variable rate irrigation. You majored in
Landscape.
landscape management. Your backgrounds are diverse. That's one point I'm trying to point out here is also your backgrounds are diverse.
I'm Isaac Larson. I'm from Prescott, Arizona. I graduated from UVU, and I'm working on the same variable rate irrigation pipe she is. Now I work in mining.
In mining.
I've done
That's
two
big.
internships in mining.
What kind of mining?
My name's Debbie. I'm working with Sam St. Clair on the Eagle Magnifier stuff, mostly terrestrial. I'm from Salem, Utah.
Oh, great.
I'm Daniel Whittle. I'm from Oakley in South Central Idaho. I'm working with large ungulates on Antelope Island, looking at how guzzlers and anthropogenic disturbances affect them and habitat.
How long have you been doing that? 1 year. Okay.
I'm Levi Watkins. I'm from Vernal, Utah. Good place.
It's the best place.
It is a good place.
So awesome.
And I'm studying elk movement and kind of specifically migration strategies and then barriers to movement.
My name's Sydney Lamb. I also claim Salem, Utah as my home.
You guys know each other?
We do not.
Oh, cool.
I'm studying mule deer fawns, specifically the influence of maternal effects on fawn growth and survival, and also I'm looking at multiple paternity in twins.
In what place?
No, on the cache.
What
Cache
cache?
Valley.
Well, that's right, your cache. What place? No, you just identify as the Book Cliff guy. That's right.
I'm Micaiah. I'm from Wilmington, North Carolina, and I'm working with Steve on the Sparrow Forest Project and their impact on sage-grouse habitat.
I'm Lindy. I'm from Oregon. I'm studying dairy goat milk production and how barley fodder affects that, and also sheep grazing stuff.
Stuff is a great word.
Technical.
Such a great word. We all know what you mean when you say stuff. More to come, right?
Corden, also working with Sam St. Clair on the Nebo fire, as well as the Monroe Mountain impact of ungulates and fire on aspen regeneration in that area. Air Force brat, so kind of from all over the place.
Where's been the best?
That's a hard question. Love
Awesome.
Germany for the food, love Texas for the people, and love Virginia for the golfing.
Good answer, that's good. Just starting?
Yeah, just starting.
So I thought, yeah, his funding is pretty recent on that one.
I'm Melissa. I'm from Southern California. I'm an undergrad, so I just pretty much do whatever he tells me to do.
That's fun.
Recently, it's the animal behaviors to drones, specifically horses and cows.
I'm Heather Ship. I'm from Orem, and I'm a Guerler Elephant student. I'm working with her studying the ungulates and some rare alpine plant species in the Tusher Mountains.
Who's been at the Tushers? Who's not been at the Tushers?
It's down near Beaver.
You should go to the field trip there. It's probably the most beautiful place in the entire state of Utah.
It is. I honestly hadn't been there until
Uh.
last summer.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing place.
And
So cool.
we'll hit it.
Awesome.
I'm Sarah Saidi. I'm studying environmental science and environmental policy using Pittsburgh Assessment, and I'm from here.
You speak
Farsi.
Farsi. Anybody speak Farsi? Shame on all of us. You should speak Farsi too. Your English is excellent. Almost like first language quality English. It's awesome.
I'm Chad. I work for Dr. Manson. I'm from Salem, Utah. And
Salem's the place to be.
it's like, I don't
It's the
know,
best place.
from Salem, my parents.
Salem,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Big.
Salem's great. I love Salem.
And I'm studying herbicide neutralization using activated carbon. I'm Ben. I also work with Matt Madsen. I'm from upstate New York, and I study fungicide and mycorrhizal seed coats.
I'm Brett Anderson from Salem as well, and I'm looking at putting safe brush establishment in seed coats.
I'm Mitch Hacker, I'm not from Salem. I'm from Cooper, Utah. I'm in Dr. Manson's lab looking at the efficacy of plant hormones and fungicide with underfat seeds.
I'm from West Point, Utah, right next to Cooper, and I'm studying the effects of cattle disturbance on endangered cactus species on the center as well.
Using.
Using multiple methods. One of them being a device that I created, transmission device.
Oh, your trailing device. I love that.
Yeah, mounted, cowling mounted into a welded platform. Works good. It's good.
It's way off.
Could make a great centerpiece after I'm done. I think of devices, no prize.
But you can make more.
I can make some.
I'm Nick Anderson, I'm from Technical Utah. I'm studying the effects of commercial honeybees on native pollinators. And drones.
Don't forget your drones. Drones and drones.
My name is Lee. I'm from Spring Creek, Nevada. It's in the northeast corner. I'm studying mule deer fawns and elk calves in the cliffs in Utah. And I'm looking at potential competitive interactions between ungulates during the birthing period and also specific mortality on the ungulates from birth to deer.
It's all over, right? We got some diversity in here. We got people with different backgrounds and interests. Can I ask you why this class? Why did you take it? Just out of curiosity? If you have any reason why you're here besides it's one of the 3 graduate classes that they offered me. That's not really true. There's a lot of them. But why else are you in besides it's a class to take?
Just to get more experience with JS, and it's also helpful with research.
It's a great tool. It's a really useful tool.
How long is that when you're having maps like that work? Sometimes I think they're kind of boring.
We got a lab for you on making maps that if you implement this, you'll be a superstar. You can make the coolest maps. There's one that's from Esri, the company we're going to be following a lot throughout this semester, is Esri. But they have a module for making maps that if you go through it, people have already had 417 the last year or two, you've seen it, you've made maps of bombing. It's this kind of approach where you can make maps that have characteristics that just stand out the same. So we'll do stuff like that for map development. I think that's a really good point. Because you'll publish this, right? You publish your papers, and if you got a full map in there, potentially 1,000 people are going to see that. You want to make them look good and be informative. Any other reason why a class like this might be of interest to you?
I think like for a lot of my research scholars, and it can be really dense if you're kind of just talking about it, or if you have a really good visual, people can like grasp it really quickly and be like, oh yeah, that's how this version of thing works. Where it's sometimes really hard to read through it and be like, oh, I can understand what's happening.
I totally agree. You can, there's that idea of pictures 1,000 words. It's so true in this context. Often you can have tables and graphs and kinds of stuff, but if you got a visual, something that shows hot spots or boundaries, we'll talk about Browning Bridge and movements and corridors and things like that. That stuff tells a lot to people, means a lot.
I was gonna say that it seems to me that there's a lot of people in this class that are outdoorsy, and as far as hunting or hiking or camping, there's all sorts of use for personal use to make maps. So figure out a way to make good maps for hunting trips and stuff. It's pretty cool.
I think some of the people in this room actually have done that very thing from our last class. Made some maps of hunting sites. Why not, right? Use it for all purposes. It's not just like really narrow, it's very broad in their application. All right. This is two of us. You already met Ryan. Here's our information. I didn't get his phone number this morning, so I don't know what his phone number is, but he'll tell it to you. If you ever need to get hold of me, you can just do that email right there or call and text me. I will answer a text eventually, promise. Hopefully immediately, but sometimes not. The 518 is the Geospatial Habitat Analysis Lab. And there's a bunch of computers in there. Some are faster than others, some are not so fast, but they all have software on it. If you want, you likely are going to have software on your computers at your own desk. You can stay there and work on it, but sometimes there's something that you benefit from working in groups. I was talking yesterday to some of my friends about working together in an environment where you're doing similar stuff. I did a PhD at Oregon State University, and we had a GIS lab. And there were 4 to 5 people there at any time. I was there for 4 years in that lab, and I got a lot of great background and knowledge from some classes I took that were useful and a couple of professors who were helpful. But yeah, by far the majority I got was from Monir Nauhachi, who sat right next to me. I got so much from that dude. He was a PhD student as well. And Andrea Liliberti, she's working on her master's. We published a paper together. I got so much from Andrea. I can't tell you how much. That has set me off on my pace in life of doing image classification and stuff that came from Andrea Liliberti. Amazing scientist. She was right there with me during that time. Andrew Yost, we published a paper together on ecological modeling and sage-grouse habitat. He said, I stared at him every day, just far apart. We sat there. I was on this side of the desk, he was on that side of the desk, and there we were. And I'd ask Andrew all the time about stuff, so we published a paper together. Awesome. So whoever's working together in the labs, make sure you're talking to each other. If you feel like you don't have that environment, you want to come and hang out, we've got already a group in certain form in my lab that are GISers or enthusiasts. Hang out. That's in 518. Here are the objectives straight off the website for this class. To apply landscape ecology theory to evaluate, describe, and predict spatial patterns and processes within rangeland ecosystems using GIS, remote sensing, global positioning systems. Just for your information, this landscape ecology class applies to forests. It will apply to a wide range of ecosystems and locations. In order for our students to qualify for federal positions in the government, we had to have a number of classes that said range in the title, or they did not qualify for that position. So we threw the word rangeland on here as to indicate that this was actually something that could be applied to those who want to become rangeland specialists or work in that field. Otherwise, the government would be able to say, no, you don't have enough classes, these students are not qualified for that. That's full crap. But just so you know, this is not only about range, it's going to cover a lot of things, but rangelands, I'll tell you in a second here, are really actually pretty important lands. And you probably good work on rangelands anyway, whether you like it or not, like most of you. Students, here's a learning outcomes, is to be able to apply landscape ecology theory to evaluate, describe, and predict spatial patterns and processes in wildlife ecosystems. This will be furthered by synthesis of the literature and current theory. Those are the outcomes. But you'll be able to develop the skills that will be able to help you in this world of spatial analysis. That's the goal of all this. And so you'll learn all the tools and techniques that I know. Ryan and I have been working together a lot of this stuff, and you've already experienced Ryan. He is savvy with this stuff. He has put a ton of time and energy into learning ArcPro. He knows ArcMap incredibly well. He has got the drone stuff down. He does modeling. The guy's a great TA, so do not hesitate to go after him with questions. And come after me too. I've been doing GIS since 1994 was my first class. GIS, I took it here at BYU, and I've got a whole slug of them since. And the things we learned back in 1994, some of it's still applicable today, which is interesting, but most of the language is type. We were using Intergraph. So cool. We don't use Intergraph. And we used ArcPlot. We actually had a program. If you want to move your something around the screen, there's no click and drag and moving it. You had to program it into ArcPlot, tell how far it to go, right, left, what color you wanted by a number combination, and you would program it just to those ways like we do now. You just come so far. In this class, lectures will cover the principles of landscape ecology, and I want to have a lot of good conversations about ecosystems and how we talk about them at a broad spatial scale, a landscape scale, and how that varies. So my background briefly, I want to turn too. I'm from Provo, and then in Springville, that's where I grew up. And I lived in Las Vegas for a while. I was a jouster. I always wanted to be a jouster at the casino down there where they have a big feast where you eat the Excalibur. I wanted to go and ride a horse and joust, but they wouldn't let me do it. I thought that'd be the coolest job ever. But I worked at the Yucca Mountain test site doing ecological assessment of the impacts of sticking nuclear waste in the mountain on the environment. So we did a lot of GIS work there for that project, did a lot of soils mapping, and then we did modeling of temperature, knowing that if you put nuclear waste in the mountains, it could potentially raise the temperature from the core where this material is stored at up to the surface by anywhere from 1 to 10 degrees Celsius. And the thought was, how much is that going to change ecosystem dynamics across this landscape? So it was very much a landscape ecology kind of a comment or thought process. There's still no nuclear waste in the mountains. We don't know what would happen, but we have our ideas. We also put little transmitters in the back of desert tortoises. We spent $2 million on desert tortoises trying to figure out where they go, their migration patterns, how long they stay in the ground. Tons of work on that. All because we're going to impact their habitat big time for endangered species. And then I went to Oregon State and did GIS in juniper woodlands in eastern Oregon. Told my people at Oregon State I'll only come if I can do something that's geospatial. It had to be something GIS related or I was not going to come. And so they got this project. We used aircraft. I called up my pilot and I said, okay, dude, the clouds are clear. Today's the day. I need you to come fly. I'll meet you out there. I had my ground control targets all over this big watershed where there's juniper that's moved in. And this dude came over and flew it, made his passes. And I got 2 different scales of data for my images that I used to detect juniper density cover across different spatial positions on that landscape to see if it was all the same. Then I measured in the field how much infiltration do you get of water on a south-facing slope versus on a north-facing slope, and how much does the plant community vary in terms of its competition with juniper trees. I wanted to know that. And then I also want to know soil water content. Does it dry out faster? Are these sites more stressed out? Depends on where they're at in the landscape. So a aspect coupled with density of trees. So I did. Turns out there's data there to be found. It was way interesting. So all my presentations I gave at Oregon conferences and meetings with the people from different organizations who wanted to hear this, I said, you cannot consider juniper landscapes that have been dominated by this species to respond equally. They do not. They will not. You're not going to see the same kind of response, long-term or short-term, if you go out and start just harvesting trees or try to figure out how much water is coming off the landscape or not, or how much soil erosion is going on. All that's going to vary tremendously based on where you're at. That was cool. And having a guy fly over an aircraft and give me pictures of this so I could emphasize this ground-based data with remote sensing that I could apply to an entire region was way cool. And I'll show you later, we also did some remote sensing image classification of willow communities. We wanted to see if we could identify willow species along Skull Creek. And so we went in the field and said, okay, this right here is a yellow willow, and that one's a goose willow. And we then had that same company fly, but this time really low over my willow community. And then we did classification, pulled out that information. That's the one that Andrea Littleburton and I published a paper on too, things like ecology management. And to be honest with you, whatever you do in this class, highly consider it to be something you could potentially publish. either part of your thesis or independently. Because the class I took where I published this paper, the two of us decided to join up on this topic and work on it together, and that's it came from a class just like this. Same topic, same title of the class, the Landscape Ecology Oregon State paper, which was awesome fun, way fun. So hopefully whatever you're doing for your thesis, your dissertation, you can use this stuff for it, and it's going to come here in a second. I'll tell you what I think about. Labs will give you some information on how to work with GIS, remote sensing, and modeling. And then please engage in this class and talk about your stuff and ask questions and don't hold back. That's the beauty of graduate class. I love 5-level courses because you've been there. You've had tons of background now. You've taken so many classes, and your thoughts matter a lot because you're very informed people. You agree? I think you're very informed people. So I'd like to hear what you got to say. These labs will go every week. Almost every single one will be in the lab. Ryan's planning on being there for all of them. I'll be there for all of them except for next week. I'm taking, not next week, this coming Thursday, because I've got to take the forestry class in Filter Yellowstone, so I'm going to be gone. But you will be here, most of you, unless you're coming with me. And you can make things up, right? These labs are generally menu driven, so you can sit down and start going through them, but we'll be there to work with you as you go through this process. And if you've got 417, first 1 or 2 might be similar, but you'll quickly find out this is not 417 round 2. There's a lot in here that will be way different to you than what you did in 417. This idea of a research project, I want you to use what information you have now in your world, if you have it. That you could ask yourself something, what is something that I can gain or learn or develop in my own research I'm doing right now that I could use GIS remote sensing tools to understand my system better, or to set up a study design more effectively, or to branch off in a part of your thesis you haven't thought of yet. That you can say, I've got this data, I think it's way cool to go and explore this idea over here. Do that. My best paper I published my PhD was one that I did the last half a year of my PhD. I was almost done. My professor and I said, why don't we think about this? So we went and did that just at the tail end with the data I already had, and that thing's been cited more than all of the chapters. So think about what it might be, right? And I want you to think about that, and then I don't have a requirement anywhere on the schedule for us to have a deadline for you to come and tell me this is what I want to do, because it really is up to you. But I think it would behoove all of us if we had a conversation, either all of us together, I don't care, or one-on-one. We talk about what your project, what you're working on, and how would you use this. If you just feel like there's nothing there, like you have got nothing, I just can't see how this is going to make any difference what I'm doing, then I've got lots of ideas, stuff you could explore. We can test these guys. I just went to this conference. They were using MODIS satellite imagery to assess horse impacts. You know what the pixel resolution of MODIS is? You know what MODIS is? It's a satellite way up, cruising around in orbit. It's sun synchronous, so it's always with the sun, so it's always taking pictures of the Earth that's lit up, never in the dark. And pixel size, anybody? What's the pixel size of MODIS? 250 meter resolution. So how big is this room? If this is a pixel in this room, what is this room? From that wall to this wall, how many meters is that? 30. You think that's 30 meters? 20 meters? We measure this. That's a meter. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm at 7. So 14. I'm going to go about 14, 15 meter wide. 30 meter is Landsat. It's twice the size of this. 250 meter pixel resolution. It's like down the street, cross over the next street, halfway down that one. That's about how far you're not that far, but it's over there. So every pixel you're looking at 250 resolution. Is that enough? Is that good enough resolution to really say something about the impacts of horses? They thought so. we presented it to 100 people at a conference who are all equa people. These were people who love zebras and the wild asses of Asia. And the only native horse left, which is called what? There's you ungulate people in here. There's only one native horse left on the planet. It's not a donkey. It's not a wild ass. It's a horse. Name it. And where is it? It's on the endangered species list. It's in Mongolia. Can you name it? It's called Przewalski's horse. You know Przewalski's? This is the Przewalski's. I can't laugh. Only wild horse left in the world. There it is. You see that right there? That's it. That's the last one that exists on the planet. Where we have a horse. I owned a horse. I called him Mustang Wild Horse that I rounded up in Nevada and brought him home and spent 5-6 good quality years with him. He was still about wild when I got him. I just never quite got to fully train him that great. But where are they? Where are those horses on their native lands? Where are the wild? Where are the wild Equus calidus located on the planet? They're extinct. In the wild, they're extinct. They do not exist in the wild. But how many are there? Of Equus calidus, how many do we have? Millions? You dare say a billion? Are there a billion horses in this planet? No, maybe not a billion. There's definitely millions and millions. There are so many in domestication. How many are wild? Of that domesticated horse, how many are remain wild? They, Siberia, Mongolia.
I'm talking about the horses we have.
Yeah, those that we have domesticated. That's a species that we domesticated. This is where we have them, where we put them. But they're here in the United States. Are they native to the United States? Do you want to argue this? Let's get into an argument. Are they native really to the United States or not? Sort of. Do you know where they evolved? Whole North America. For 60 million years, they were in North America. Until 11,000 years ago, they went extinct in North America, 11,000. So here's your time span. They've been here this long. They were extinct, and that's how long they've been gone from the planet that's here. So are they native or not? This is a debate that goes on all the time. It goes on and on. The answer is no, they're not native. They're feral. They're introduced. But people argue this because they evolved here for 60 million years. That thing evolved in Mongolia for a long, long time. It's still there. They got down to such low numbers, they thought it would probably go extinct. And there really were none in captivity. I've got a friend from Australia. He's a Brumby. He's a Brumby specialist and a trainer. Man, I wish I could bring him here and have him meet him. That guy, he said this is impossible to train him. He's been in the cage with these things. He says he fears his life because they chase him, they try to kick him. They are not to be trained. It's like doing a zebra. They're really hard to train. Przewalskis do not want to be trained because they've never been domesticated, right? We did not spend our time domesticating this horse. But any feral horse that we have, not Przewalskis, it takes about a week, and they're yours forever. It takes about a week, and we can train them. I put my clicker down. I don't know where. All right, that's enough of this. So these are all thoughts and ideas about existence of things on the planet. You need to come with your own research project. We can talk about it and then work on it. At the very end, I want you to turn in a report of what you've done. However you want to write that up. I'm not going to hold you to the same exact expectations that I would like my forestry class where it's like 6 pages long and it's got to be in this format. I'm not going to do that. I want you to present to me what you have done and however you want to display that to me in written form. And then I also want this class to see what you've done. Brief. There's 24 of us. The last day of class, lab. Our last lab is going to be doing this. There will be a couple exams in the class. I've got 2 for sure that I'm ready for you. They're going to be take home. I'm going to have probably 10 questions for you. You can take them home and take as much time as you want within you have a week, right? I'll give you a week. Take this home, go answer these questions, and bring it back in a week. There's going to be 2 of those that I call midterms. they're like little final exam take-homes. Whether you want a final or not, we'll have that debate. We can discuss that if you think it's worth it or not. That'll be at the end. Unless you want to focus on your project, which I get, that will totally be an option. We can discuss that later. And then no book, right? I have this book that I've used for years. I've taught this class now, I think 13 times, 14 times. One time in Oregon State, before I came here, I taught this class with all 6. And they were actually more like my friends I didn't go to school with. You guys are still my friends. But I'm just old and crusty. I turned 51. That's over the hill. So this is the book we use forever. I've got a copy of this. I'm not expecting you to buy it nor use it because I talked to Monica Turner. She's great. She's right here. She's like one of the pioneers of landscape ecology. If you typed in, there's some older, I'll show you a picture when I talk about the history of landscape ecology. There's some older names. But for our recent modern development, Monica Turner from Minnesota is in charge. So this is her stuff. So she's written about it. She told me this book is outdated. She wouldn't teach it to her own class. I'm like, it's over. If she's not going to use it for her own class, I'm not using it for my class either. So I dropped it this year. I said no more. But it still has so much stuff that is way useful and valuable. And I'll try to present those ideas in class. If you want to borrow my book, please do. But I'll cover the main concepts in our discussions. And here are the thoughts of the day. We're not going to finish this, but we'll say a few things too about this. Here's the other book. This one, there's been a bunch of stuff that's been written. Principles from Australia, Rangelands. Australia, for whatever reason, they've got some great ecologists, and they've got some awesome landscape ecologists. There's a couple named Tongway, and here's Tongway right there. Ludwig. These, again, pioneers of landscape ecology. This book is awesome. And it talks about how landscapes affect or influence, heavily influence patterns we see that are driven by structure, process, and function. How plants are arranged across a landscape and how that varies across topographic regions can really drive water movement patterns. Or solar radiation exposure and how plants really convert that in from a radiant energy into a chemical energy. And this book captures that so well, so well. So there's some great stuff out there that really puts this whole thing into thought. I asked this question to you, I think this is a rangeland class. Please tell me what you think rangelines are. You've had this slide in probably 4 or 5 different classes already. So we're going to keep this brief, but it needs to not be the Sunday school answer. What are these really? Do your best to define it in your head, but if anybody's so bold, you got this. Raise your hand and say, I've got this. What are these things? Silence is gold.
Could it be ecosystems that we manipulate for the production of livestock?
There's a great big mix of this kind of thought process because a lot of the lands that we consider rangelands have been heavily modified in the past. Most of the time we break those into cultivated lands and then rangelands, but often rangelands were once cultivated and vice versa, right? So there's a strong overlap. But usually when we start to modify with water, you go out and put sprinklers on and start your rain on it, which we do. In China, I've done that. We put sprinklers out and we water them. Matt and I were over there setting that up. And still rangeland, you're just trying to give the plants a boost. But if you're producing agricultural plants, usually they throw that into an agricultural class or a cultivated class. Some would differentiate that to some degree. But they're still heavily tied together because they're made of the same elements.
So lands that are somewhat uninhabitable to humans, but undevelopable, that you still find graze them, graze livestock on them, but it's not necessarily,
So a lot of these areas are deserts. We can think of a lot of desert landscapes where there's nothing on them. We're not grazing them very much, we might. We're not building on them, we're not using them for timber production. But are there areas in this world also that are considered rangeland that are highly productive? That's true too. There's a lot of land that's highly productive. Think about the tallgrass prairie, that's considered rangeland landscapes. And now they are corn and wheat by the thousands and thousands of square miles.
I mean, I obviously don't really know like the true definition, but like when I think of rangelands, I think of like its attributes, and maybe like typically they're just usually open spaces. You know, whatever happens on them can vary, but I feel like the way I think about them is just like really open areas. They're not typically, I don't know, very mountainous. I don't know. I just say like really open.
Good, these are important thoughts. We have these images, right, of what that is. So, uncultivated land that provides necessity for life, and often we focus on grazing and browsing animals. Herbivory, whether they're domesticated or wild, is not always part of the classification. It could be either. But grazing has often been the deciding factor, but it's not always. There are a lot of lands out there that we consider range that aren't necessarily being grazed. That's not an end-defining feature. They are land in which indigenous vegetation, either climax or natural potential, is predominantly grasses, grass-like plants, forbs, and shrubs, and manages a natural ecosystem. That is the definition I think right out of Holinshek's book on rangelands. So a lot of the work you're doing, some cultivated, some not, is areas where that applies. And they range widely in the type of plant communities we're talking about. If plants are introduced, they are managed similarly. Rangelands include grasslands, savannas, shrublands, deserts, semi-deserts, steppes, tundra, alpine, marshes, swards, and wet meadows. And a lot of people who are rangeland specialists work in woodland development, like my stuff in PJ Woodlands was in a range department. People who do aspen ecology research is often tied to people who are in a range field. So there's this fine line between when you start getting from conifer timber production into this place where now you're talking about rangeland and how that environment shifts from one to the next. That's point of discussion. Okay, I need to stop. Our hour is up. So we got more to say about general thoughts of range and land and how we manage it and how it's used, but then we're going to jump right into how this varies spatially and temporally for us. That will be very useful. Okay, thanks. I will see you Thursday at 9. And then you'll still go to lab, like the lab over it, so I'll see you Thursday. I actually thought about it.